Regardless of what you think of the Star Wars franchise in general, regardless of whether you love the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, or sequel trilogy, everyone agrees that the consistently best part of Star Wars is John Williams' amazing music. John Williams is undoubtedly the king and life of Star Wars. Star Wars without the music is nothing, basically. I think that John Williams' music is absolutely incredible, but he's not the only composer for Star Wars media. For the spin-off films, TV shows, video games, etc., other composers have taken the mantle of composing music for these other forms of media that take place in the same universe. And today, I want to take a look at the music that these other composers besides John Williams have done and share my top 10 favorite tracks for Star Wars not composed by John Williams. So, I know a lot of people are going to be upset at me for saying this, but I don't love Rogue One. A lot of people seem to think that the Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie that Disney has ever produced, and I have to respectfully disagree.
It's treason, then.
Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that Rogue One is overall a good movie. It has a lot more pros and cons, but for me personally, the cons really stick out like a sore thumb. And unfortunately, one of the cons for me personally is Michael Giacchino's score.
That's a damn shame.
I think that Michael Giacchino is a fantastic composer. He very deservedly won the Oscar for his music for Up. He was nominated for Ratatouille. He also should have been nominated for The Incredibles and Inside Out. But I think that his music for Rogue One feels a little bit stale. It feels like, I'm not sure if this was his creative choice or the creative choice of the director of Rogue One, Gareth Edwards, but it feels like one of them decided to copy the style and tone of what John Williams brought to Star Wars a little bit too much. It feels like Giacchino is emulating John Williams a little bit too much, and it's weird because Rogue One overall feels like, it does feel like it could take place in the same universe as Star Wars, but it feels like a very different film than the majority of the other Star Wars films that we've gotten at that point. But the music feels, it basically feels like John Williams composed the music for Rogue One, even though those are original compositions from Michael Giacchino, and that disappointed me that the music didn't feel very fresh and original. And now, I do think that Rogue One is overall a better film than Solo. However, I think that Solo has much better music than Rogue One, and my number 10 favorite track is composed by John Powell for the movie Solo, The Train Heist. Now, a lot of people would agree, regardless of whether they like or dislike Solo, that the train heist is one of the highlights of that movie, and I definitely agree. I think that the train heist is one of the more exciting scenes from an overall dull and boring movie. And that's thanks in most part to John Powell's really exciting score. His score for Solo overall, it does feel like it does take place in the same universe as Star Wars, but at the same time, John Powell brought his own distinct nature and style to it, and I really appreciate that, and that is definitely exemplified in the train heist track, which is my number 10 favorite track. And my number 9 favorite track is also from Solo, Meet Han. Now, Meet Han is the theme for Alden Emmerich's Han Solo, and this track, I really like this one too. It does feel like it fits the character of Han as we already know, but at the same time, it adds a layer of mystery and suspense to the character. Like in his younger years, maybe he was a little bit different, and this music is possibly setting up an exciting new adventure that younger Han Solo is going to go on that we've never seen before. And unfortunately, it didn't exactly pay off for me personally, but the track did bring up a sense of wonder and anticipation. And I really have to applaud John Powell for his amazing score for Solo. My number 8 favorite Star Wars track, not composed by John Williams, is composed by Ludwig Göransson, who's probably the most notable composer working today, working on movies like Black Panther, the Creed movies, working with Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, who was another highlight from Solo, and The Mandalorian. His music for both seasons of The Mandalorian is absolutely fantastic, and I really love his track for when we're reintroduced to Mando in season 2, which is called Mando is Back. Mando is Back is essentially a reinterpretation of the theme song for Mandalorian overall, but different instruments are added to it. It's rearranged in an almost chaotic sort of way. Just like the Meet Han track, it brings up a sense of excitement and anticipation for what exactly Mando's going to go up to next. And my number 7 track is called The Marshal's Tale, which is the track that plays when Timothy Oliphant's character is sharing to Mando how exactly he got Boba Fett's armor and what exactly happens with him. And this is another exciting track that underscores a pretty heartbreaking scene because of how it's supposed to be. It's initially seen as celebration, but there's still evil out there, and unfortunately the evil shows up its face to Timothy Oliphant and his people, who unfortunately get slaughtered. And Oliphant is able to fight back, but using armor that doesn't rightfully belong to him. The Marshal's Tale is one of the many great tracks from Ludwig Göransson. And spoiler alert, you're going to be seeing him again on this list. So, my number 6 favorite track for all of Star Wars, not composed by John Williams, is composed for a medium that Disney doesn't consider to be canon anymore, and I think that that's a big disappointment. I think that Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars miniseries from 2003 is absolutely fantastic, and I wish that Disney would still consider it to be canon. The animation is astounding. It adds more depth, in my opinion, to the character of Anakin Skywalker, and the score by James L. Venable and Paul Dinladier is fantastic, and I especially love the track that they composed for towards the end of Volume 1 when we're first introduced to General Grievous, even before Revenge of the Sith. We're first introduced to this character who was kind of lame in the movies and in the 2008 Clone Wars show, which is a fantastic show overall, but they really didn't do much with Grievous like they should have. However, how Genndy introduced him in the 2003 Clone Wars miniseries, man, this guy was terrifying. Him literally stepping onto the screen, stepping onto that shaggy-looking Jedi who's just absolutely terrified, and all the Jedi that face him are terrified, and he completely destroys them. And the score that Venable and Dinladier used for General Grievous's introduction, it's horror music. It's enthralling, it's frightening, and it adds to the terror of the scene. And I really love this track a lot. But speaking of Clone Wars, from the 2008 show, the 2008 show overall is really fantastic. It does have some major issues, but I think that the pros really outweigh the cons. And one of the emotional highlights from the show is when Ahsoka decides to leave the Jedi Order, and the track that the amazing Kevin Kiner composed, Ahsoka Leaves, that is a hauntingly beautiful track, and it really adds to the sadness and complexity of the situation. And I really like how at first we're hearing a variation of the Force theme with mainly violins, but then it transitions into really sad music. What's interesting about this music is that I believe that Kevin Kiner, what he intended was that even though Ahsoka's name is in the title of the track, this music is actually showing us what's going on in Anakin's head, what Anakin is feeling as he tries to convince Ahsoka, who is one of the only people that he actually likes in the Jedi Order, to not leave, but then she has to leave. She doesn't feel like she belongs anymore, and when she leaves, it's absolutely heartbreaking. Also heartbreaking is the music composed for the video game Jedi Fallen Order by Gordy Hobb and Stephen Barton. Now, I haven't actually played the game, but I do know the story. Honestly, I was more interested in the story anyway than the gameplay mechanics. Solely for the purpose of making this list, I decided to check out the music from the video games like Battlefront 2 and Old Republic, but out of all the music that I listened to for Star Wars video games specifically, I think that the music for Jedi Fallen Order is the best, in my opinion. And the track that plays over the main menu that Gordy Hobb and Stephen Barton composed is absolutely haunting. Without any words or just through the music, I'm able to get a sense of what Cal Festus unfortunately had to go through, and it's a really sad music for the most part, but then at the very end it does bring on a sense of levity and excitement, basically telling us that this isn't the Cal Festus has gone through such horrible tragedy, but this isn't the end of his journey, and I really like that. And now returning to Kevin Kiner, I really don't like Star Wars Rebels. I don't think that it's like the worst thing in Star Wars ever, but it is still kind of a terrible show. I think that Star Wars Rebels is really rough around the edges. Even people who like Rebels acknowledge that, yeah, the animation isn't as good as Clone Wars, but I do think that Rebels has a lot of flaws, but one of the good things about Rebels is Kevin Kiner's score. I think that Kevin Kiner's music for the majority of Star Wars Rebels is actually really good, and I really love the music that plays called Journey into the Star Cluster. This really intense, overwhelming violin composition that plays in season 2 of Rebels. I love it a lot. And it also plays during season 2, which is the season of Rebels I would consider to be okay and not bad or disappointing like the other 3 seasons of Star Wars Rebels are. I think that season 2 is the best season out of all of Rebels. One of the biggest reasons for that is because of the music, like Journey into Star Cluster, which is absolutely amazing. Speaking of bad though, I'm sorry, Star Wars fans, but I have to bring up that awful Clone Wars movie that was originally supposed to just be the first few episodes of the 2008 show, but then George Lucas was like, let's put these episodes together, turn it into a movie, and release it in theaters, which is not what Dave Filoni and the Clone Wars team at Lucasfilm Animation wanted to do. But, George Lucas was the head of Star Wars, so, yeah, I know that a lot of people will want to bring George Lucas back after the terrible disappointment that was Rise of Skywalker, but me personally, I'm kind of glad that George Lucas isn't in charge of Star Wars anymore. Yeah, I get it. Even though I think that the Clone Wars movie overall is really bad, I have to acknowledge that the music in that movie is actually really good. Some of the tracks are even better than the ones that Kiner composed for Rebels and the show. My second favorite track is from the Clone Wars movie called Fight to the End. I really like this composition a lot. It's not only my second favorite track for this list, but it might just be one of my favorite tracks composed for a battle or fight sequences in any movie, show, etc. I really like this track a lot. but it's not my favorite track composed for Star Wars, not by John Williams. You know how earlier I said that we were going to come back to Ludwig Göransson? Well, here we are. My number one favorite Star Wars track, not composed by John Williams, is the Mandalorian theme by Ludwig Göransson. This theme is absolutely fantastic. What I loved about John Powell's score for Solo is that it feels distinct, and yet at the same time it feels like it could belong in the same universe as Star Wars. This music, when you initially hear it, it doesn't feel like it initially doesn't feel like it belongs in Star Wars at all. And I think that that's a good thing, considering how so many people were sick of Star Wars at this point after the disappointments to many that were The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Mandalorian feels like a breath of fresh air and is exploring a side of the Star Wars universe that hasn't been explored as often before, and that was exciting to a lot of people, and that's really exemplified in the music for Mandalorian that Ludwig Göransson composed. I think that the theme perfectly describes who this character is, what exactly he's going through, what exactly the tone and style of the show is going to be. It feels very unique to Star Wars. That is one of many reasons why I love the Mandalorian theme song that Ludwig Göransson composed. And yeah, those are my favorite Star Wars tracks not composed by John Williams. Now, I gotta say that I do think that all of these tracks are great on their own, but in comparison are inferior to John Williams' music for the entirety of the Skywalker saga, with the exception of Rise of Skywalker. That music was not that good. I don't think that that's really John Williams' fault. I think that J.J. Abrams and his music editor really messed with the score a lot. I do think that overall, like, John Williams is definitely the king of Star Wars. He is the reason why this franchise has so much life and energy. I think that John Williams is obviously the king of Star Wars, but he's not the only reason why the music of Star Wars sounds so great and feels so exciting and energetic. And I really have to applaud these other composers for really doing a great job by either adding their own unique voices or adding to the Star Wars mythos through music. And yeah, please let me know down in the comments below what your guys' favorite Star Wars tracks not composed by John Williams are, or if you want to share just your favorite Star Wars tracks in general, go ahead. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. And yeah, I'm not sure when the next time I'll be making a video like this will be, where it's not an episode of Podcast Racing, where I just, make a video like this with editing and video clips and all that. But hopefully I'll make one soon. Thank you guys again for watching, and stay safe out there. Bye.